Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing our series on Dodo Payments, and I will walk you through how to charge and accept payments your users based on subscription plans. Plus, I will show how to set up a webhook. If you haven't watched my previous series how to handle one-time payments using Dodo Payments, I highly recommend you to do so, since it's going to be a prerequisite video for what we are covering today. Quick side note, I actually recently broke my finger, but I didn't want to stop making videos for you all, so if I'm coding a little bit slower than usual, so that's why. As always, don't forget to subscribe and support with your likes, since it really helps me keep going. So alright, so let's jump right into it. By the way guys, if you enjoy these tutorials and want to support me in creating more, you can do so by becoming a supporter on Patreon. Your contributions help me keep making in-depth, high-quality content for free here on YouTube. I also offer a dedicated help plan on Patreon. For a small amount of fee, you'll get a direct guidance from me, a senior developer, so we can solve your issue together. You'll find a Patreon link in my description below. Every bit of support means a lot, and it keeps me these tutorials coming. I already have a one-time payment within my application from the previous video. So in order to create a new subscription plan, for that we are gonna create a new product within our dashboard, which is going to be a subscription-based plan. So let's create a new one. So let's call this name product as a subscription product. Let's add a new description for that product. This is subscription plan. Let's add some dummy icon here as an image, just like so. Let's crop that image. Brand is going to be my brand name as a code review. So instead of single payment, it's going to be a subscription based. So let's add a price for that product as a $12. This is going to be paid repeatedly every 1 month. Okay, so I will leave all of these things as default. So let's create a new product here. So we've successfully created. This should appear within our dashboard, within our application if we refresh our page, so as it is. But if I try to pay with a one-time payment route, this is going to return me an error, since it's not handled properly as a subscription plan. Instead, it's handled as a one-time payment. So we have to fix this one. So for that, I'm going to create a new route which is going to be handle the subscription plans instead of as a one-time payment. So I already have a one-time payment route from my previous video. I'm just going to duplicate that part. Instead of one time, as this is going to be subscription route. So this is going to be a post request. So I will leave all of these things as one-time payment, but instead of creating a new payment, I'm going to create a new subscription. Instead of product card, I have to provide with let's add missing properties. I have to add product ID. So this is going to be provided within my request. So let's replace that part. Let's add quantity as a 1, and our return URL is going to be the same as previous one-time payment. So as you remember, the billing address is going to be a dynamic, but for simplicity I just have hard-coded, but you can provide this information if you have already posted on Vercel. This is going to be get it from virtual functions and provide with the real country code. And also with the same with email, you have to provide with the email of the real user and with the real name. So for simplicity, I have just hard-coded all of these properties to keep things simple. Okay, now let's try to separate our subscription plans from our one-time payments. For that, I'm going to go over to my products route. So within the Dodo Payments products list, I have a query parameter, which is going to be an recurring property. This is going to be a true or false. If I set this into true, this is going to return me only the subscription products, as you can see. If I set it into false, this is going to return me only one-time payment products, as you can see here. So for now, I'm going to create a new logic where I can get only recurring payments or not. So let's, within our search params, so let's get request as a next request. Okay, now I'm going to create as a new recurring variable. So whether it's a recurring or not, this is going to be getting from search params. Let's get recurring. All of this is going to be set as a boolean. So if it exists within the search params, this means it's going to be a true or false. So let's pass this variable into our query. So if I set a new request right over here, so let's create a request to get all of our one-time payments and the subscription plans as a two requests. So it's going to be returns all to get all of our one-time payment, then our recurring payments. So recurring is going to be true. So the first one is going to be one-time response. The second one is going to be subscription response. So the same as here. So let's provide it with also promise.all. So the first one is going to be one-time response as JSON. So this type of this one is going to be a product list response from Dodo Payments, and this is going to be a promise. The same with the subscription response. This is going to be a subscription response JSON as promise. Like so, let's format this. So the first element of the array is going to be one-time products, and the second one is going to be subscriptions. So let's pass this one. So let's add some styling. So let's add space while 4. So the first one is going to be one-time payment product list. So it's going to be just like content, item center. Let's add some heading. Let's center them. Okay, just like so. So this one is going to be one time products. So let's refresh. Okay. Okay, flex column, just like so. So let's create another div, which is going to be, instead of one-time payment, subscriptions. So instead of one time, we are going to pass the subscriptions, so it will render all of our subscription products. Now within the product list, instead of making a request into one-time payment, we have to check if it's a recurring product or not. So if it is going to be recurring product, so product is recurring. If it's a recurring payment, we have to set the same exact request as one-time payment, but the route is going to be API checkout subscription, exactly like that. So it's going to make a request into our subscription route and handle our subscription. So let's check that out. Let's refresh. So as you can see, let's make payment. So exactly like that. As you can see, it's quite simple to integrate some subscription plan payment within your application if you have already handled one-time payment. So let's make a successful payment using test card, if I can find it. Where's my, I see, test card. Let's paste this over here, expiry date and CVV as 123. So my card holder name is going to be as Lonakhanova. Okay, so we successfully make a purchase within our application, and we are going to be redirected into our home page. So this is quite strange, since I've let's check our route within subscription, but next public base URL, I see. Instead of making it, I already have in my environmental variable that return URL is going to be this one. So instead of base URL, I want to change into return URL, so it will redirect me into success page. So let's try one more time. Subscription product. Thanks. Paste. 1, 2, 3. Let's pay. So okay, I see. After the successful payment, I've redirected into success page, and I've also was included with subscription ID and status active. So this is quite interesting, and in order to handle that after successful payment, we have to handle whether our users was successfully purchased or failed. In order to handle that, we are going to use the webhook, which is provided with Dodo Payments. So after the let's say after successful payment, the Dodo payment API is going to make into a request into our application in order to say that this current user have successfully purchased or failed the checkout in order to properly handle within our application correctly. So for that, by the way guys, if you'd like to know more about Webhooks, I deeply explained this in my previous video about the integration of Next.js with Paddle, so I highly recommend to visit it. So let's continue with integration of our web application with Webhook. So let's create a new webhook within our application. So I've previously created my webhook, and let's create a new webhook in order to integrate with our application. So let's create a new endpoint. This webhook is going to make a request into the external URL, which we are going to type about all of the checkouts after successful payments, after failed payments, but our application running locally. So for that, Dodo Payments cannot access into our local machine. For that, we have to host our local application into the internet publicly so that Webhook can access and make a request into it. To make it faster, I'm going to use NGRock to make our local application available into the public. So for that, I'm going to type NGRock HTTP and 3000, since my local host is hosted in port 3000. And if I visit this URL, this is going to be an URL, and this is warning me that it's using NGRock in order to be able to access into public, so that everyone can access it using this URL, including the Dodo Payments webhook. So for that, I'm going to use that URL, and my URL for handling webhook is going to be within API webhook. So it's going to be sending us only checked events. I'm going to check all of the events related to subscription. So advanced configuration, okay, let's create. So it's giving me a signing secret in order to protect my route from external requests, and in order to identify that it's exactly Dodo Payments is making requests into my application. So it's only for security reasons. So let's create that route within our application. So within the API, I'm going to create an webhook. So let's create a new route. This is going to be a post request. Let's make a new instance of a webhook from new webhook from standard webhooks. If you haven't installed the npm package of standard webhooks, you have to in order to use the webhook. So now we have to provide with the webhook key, which we previously copied. So I already have within my environmental variable that Dodo Payments webhook key, so I have to update this part in order to be able to use the webhook. So I'm going to paste that one. Now I have to get the request as a next request, I'm going to extract the raw body as a text, so like that, request as a text. This is going to be a promise, and this one also as a asynchronous function. Now I have to get the webhook headers from the request. I don't exactly remember which properties are needed, I think it's webhook ID, and from request headers webhook headers get webhook ID. I don't exactly remember the properties, so let's test that out. So next I'm going to secure my webhook from external APIs and identify that it's exactly Dodo Payments making a request. For that exists an webhook verify. In order to verify and secure the route, I have to pass the payload as a raw body, and I have to pass the headers, but web headers. Let's check which properties are needed from the header, so which is going to be webhook ID, webhook timestamp. So let's type as a webhook timestamp request headers get webhook timestamp. If it doesn't exist, let's provide it with an empty string for type safety. And webhook signature, webhook signature request headers get webhook signature, and provide it as an empty string. So if it successfully loads, after successful verification, we have to get the actual body from the response. So let's get it, and let's get the payload as a JSON parse raw body as webhook payload from Dodo Payments. So let's console log that out, the actual payload. So actually let's check it out that whether it's secure or not. So we cannot access publicly from the external API that actually it's secure. So let's create a new request. This is going to be a new HTTP request. This is going to be a post request, and let's paste our URL, which is going to be this one, and the URL is going to be API webhook. Let's send a request. As we can see, the verification has failed and it's returning as a 5000 internal server error. So instead of making and returning 5000 response within our endpoint, let's try to return the proper response. For that, I'm going to use the try catch block, and within the catch block I'm making a request as a return next response JSON, and body is going to return the actual error. and the status is going to be 4000 or 4000 free as a forbidden. So let's test that out one more time. So let's send it out as a body. So as you can see, the webhook verification error, since it's missing the header's webhook ID. Let's actually provide it with some dummy data. So let's send us a webhook ID, and the value is something like that. Webhook timestamp. Like so, and webhook signature, something like that. Send it. So it's still returning me verification error since it's not a valid request. So okay, it's still working. So let's actually try that out, and let's console log within our application the actual payload. Now we are gonna send the valid request into our application, and we are gonna see the real request from Dodo Payments. For that, we are gonna test that out, and let's select the event as a subscription active, which means that the user have successfully paid and the subscription activated after the successful payment. So which means we can handle that type of activity in order to create within our custom database a new subscription for the some user. So for that, we are going to send an, let's say, a simulation event, which is going to be a subscription item. So let's send an example. Now we should be able to see this within our application, but I don't see any events. So it's failed because I don't see anything. Let's try to console log that part as an error. So console.log the error. So let's try to send one more time. Testing. Subscription active. Send example. Still failed. I don't see anything within my application. No matching signature found. So I think I know the reason. So I'm going to stop my server and run one more time. So now I'm going to go over to my route and run one more time. So as you can see, I'm getting the actual payload sent from my Dodo payment dashboard, and I'm getting the subscription active simulation event. So now I can create a new subscription for this current user that I'm receiving, which is basically an email address, dummy email address, which should be able to see as a customer, the customer email. So let's create that one. So for creating and handling the subscription within my application, I'm going to use Prisma and Postgres database. So I've already prepared a Prisma client within my application, so it's living within my Prisma library, which is basically my Prisma client. So now I have to create a new schema within my Prisma file, which is basically gonna hold my users within my database, and as well as the user subscriptions which is associated with the user existing within my database. So let's create it. So this is going to hold the users, which is going to hold the ID. This is going to be an integer. This is ID, default, auto increment. Also, I'm going to hold the email of the user, which is going to be a string. I think that's enough for my application. And also I'm going to create a user subscription, and this is also going to have some ID, some default auto increment, and this user ID is going to be associated with the user itself. So let's make a one-to-one relation with my user. Now also I would like to know the status of the subscription, which is going to be passed in from Dodo Payments Webhook as a status. Let's store this as a string. So also you can provide your user subscription with different kinds of information that's provided with a Webhook, like payment frequency count, frequency interval, and so on and so on. So this is the the user subscription properties that I'm going to hold within my application, but you can provide other properties. So let's migrate my application. So let's npx prisma db push, which is going to make the exact changes that I've made within my Prisma file. These changes gonna be applied into my database. So let's, within my webhook, create a new user after the subscription is going to be activated, after the user is and create the associated subscription. So for that I'm going to import the Prisma client. So after I would like to create a new user, so this is going to be user create, and I'm going to create a new data where my user is going to be hold the email. The email is going to be provided with payload customer data. By the way, I have to check that this payload is going to be a type of subscription active. So payload type subscription active, then they have to check if the payload data payload type is related to subscription. Now I think it's now type safe. That let's check the payload data customer. Yeah, that's right. So I can provide the payload data customer email, and also I would like to create a user subscription, which is basically going to be created. Let's create a new associated subscription. So this is going to be what properties do I need, which is basically a status only. So I should provide the status, which is going to be provided by the Dodo Payments. So payload data status. So this should successfully create a new user subscription for my application. So let's, after the completion, it's going to send a status request as a 2000. So let's save. Let's test that out, and within my Dodo Payments, I'm going to send a new test event as a subscription active. So let's send an example. So I should be able to do a succeeded request within my message attempts. So let's refresh. Okay. So as you can see, it's successfully created. I should be able to see that it's 2000, and also I should be able to see that exact instances are created within my Prisma Postgres database. So let's go over to Studio. Let's go over to my table within my users, so that as you can see, the email as a test is created. Also my user subscription is also created with the associated user ID. So it's successfully managed. So as you can see, that's just an example of handling and webhook and payload type of subscription active. So as you can see, you can create any logic within this application in order to make your own business logic. So this is just one example. So there are also other types of payload types, as you can see here. So that there are also payload types of different kinds of events related to disputes, license key, about one-time payments, refunds, about subscriptions. So I'm going to implement a few ones, not all of them. Now I'm going to handle one more, the payload type. This type is going to be a subscription canceled, which means that the user, after some amount of time user have purchased our subscription plan, it can have a button where it can anytime cancel their subscription in order to stop recurring payment. So after that, we are gonna make changes within our database. So for that, we are gonna update the user subscription and update many. If in case the user has multiple subscriptions, so Actually, it doesn't matter much for this tutorial, just for introduction. I'm going to use update menu. Okay, I'm going to update all of the subscription based on the user email. So the email is going to be provided by the payload data, customer, then email. Now I have to provide the data, and the status is going to be based on payload data, just data, then status, just like that. So let's create a new button within our success page. So let's create firstly our success page within our app. Our application, I think, is going to be returned within our checkout success. Okay, so our application is going to have a route checkout. Within that, it's going to have success page. Let's create a page.tsx. Okay, so let's create widget within our application, which is going to be cancel subscription. So within that, it's going to have a UI and cancel subscription .tsx. Okay, so this component is going to be use client. So for that, I'm going to create now I'm going to create a new button, which is going to be which is going to cancel our subscription, cancel subscription. So this is going to receive the subscriptions user subscription array, then this is going to be a subscription, so that the user can manage all of its subscriptions. So let's map all of the subscriptions, and this is going to be some simple card, card content, card title, let's say subscription. Let's pass the subscription some ID. Let's provide it with a key, subscription ID, and let's pass the button which is going to cancel our subscription, and let's create a new server action which is going to make a request for cancellation actions. Cancel subscription action TS6, actually TS, but doesn't matter. Okay, export. const cancel subscription action which is going to, by the way, in order to be able to make changes within our local application, we also need to store the ID of the subscription within of Dodo Payments. So for that, I'm going to also add schema Prisma as Dodo subscription ID. You can store it as anything you want, but be able to access it is very important. This is going to be a subscription ID. This. Okay, so Dodo Payments. So let's generate it one more time. So npx let's save them all. Prisma generate. Okay, so after that I will be able to Dodo Payment subscription ID and set it as so I'm going to, on creation, I have to set the Dodo Payment subscription ID and get it from the payload data subscription ID. Now we should be able to, on the cancel subscription action, get the Dodo subscription ID. Let's this should be a string, I think, and so within the subscription now we can update the status as the Dodo Payments ID, and we should be able to send the body as status cancelled. Now within this we also can send into our local database that the user subscription is cancelled, but in order to use, instead of using that, I'm going to use the webhook, but still it doesn't matter much. You can use any method you want. I just want to explain how to use the webhook more deeply, but how the way it's implemented doesn't matter much. Now I'm going to make another payment within my application. So first I'm going to push the changes into my database. So for that I'm going to make a DB push. So it's going to restore all of my data. I'm going to, for that, make a force reset in order to remove all of the existing data. Now it's all done. I'm going to run my application one more time. Now I'm going to make a payment within my products. Make a payment here. Let's make a successful payment. copy, 1, 2, 3. I've successfully purchased. Now I should be able to see a cancel button within my application. So within my success page, I should import the cancel subscription widget. Now I should be able to get all of the existing subscription within my application. So for that, I'm going to query subscriptions, Prisma, user subscriptions. This should be a synchronous function. Find many, where the user ID actually I'm going to hard code the user email, since have not implemented the authorization and holding the session of the user. So for that, I'm going to hard code my email that I've hard coded in my previous checkout, which is basically going to be my email aslan@gmail.com. So let's get all of the existing subscriptions and pass all of the existing subscription within my now I can see that the subscription with ID 1, I can make a request into my database, and if I refresh my Prisma, I should be able to see that status is cancelled, but it's not working. I forgot to make an actual request once the button is clicked. So on click, I'm going to send a request into cancel subscription action. So the subscription ID is going to be subscription Dodo subscription ID. So just like so. Okay. I don't see any error here. Synchronous function, I see. Okay, so let's refresh it one more time. So let's make a cancel button. It's 2000, and if I refresh my subscriptions, as you can see that the subscription ID with this one, the customer email aslan@gmail.com, is status is cancelled. So you can track all of the subscriptions within this dashboard. Existing, all of the subscriptions are listed here. So manually you also can cancel them within this dashboard according to their email. So that's it. And within my custom database, I can, if I refresh my database, I should be able to see that my status is cancelled due to the fact that I managed to cancel it using the webhook that's handled over here. But anyways, you can also cancel this within this action. So that's the end of this tutorial, guys. If you find this video useful for you, don't forget to subscribe and hit like button, and I'll see you in the next one.